the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany, and that Andrew Sanfilippo is participating from the agency's Buffalo Regional Office at Electric Tower, 535 Washington Street, Suite 105, and that Bethsaida Gonzalez is participating from the Syracuse Regional Office, 620 Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. Notice of these locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from any of those locations. I will ask for motions and seconds to call to order the June 13th, 2024 board and committee meetings. I will first ask for a motion and a second for HFA. And I will ask for individual votes from the HFA board members. Mrs. Nauskas?
Aye.
Mr. Olzak?
Aye.
Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
Ms. McEwen?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Aye.
And we will add Ms. Miller when she arrives. I will ask for a motion and a second for SONYMA. I will ask for individual votes from each SONYMA board member. We will accept the previous votes of Ms. Wisniewska's, Mr. Olzak, and Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Capel? We will, Professor Ford when he arrives. I will ask for a motion second for the SONYMA Mortgage Committee. And second, I will accept the prior votes of Ms. Wisniewska's, Mr. Capel, and Mr. Olzak. I will ask for a motion and a second for MBBA and TSFC.
So moved.
And a second.
Aye.
Thank you. And I will ask for individual votes from each MBBA and TSFC board member. We will accept the votes of the vote of Mr. Olzak, Mr. Sanfilippo.
Aye.
Aye, please. Thank you. And Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you.
I'd also like the record to reflect the materials indicate that Robert Rodriguez is the Secretary of State. Secretary Rodriguez left, and Walter Mosley is now the Secretary of State. So I just wanted the record to reflect that.
Thank you. Apologies. And we'll ask for a motion and a second for the HFA Audit Committee.
Am I an HFA?
No.
So moved.
Thank you. And second, Mr. Curtis. We will accept the previous votes of Mr. Curtis and Mr. Olzak. I will ask for a motion and a second for the SONYMA Audit Committee.
Oh, look, on Q, so we have Joyce
Yay.
and Jesse.
And actually, in perfect timing, because we need.
No worries.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I apologize.
No worries.
Everyone.
We just got started, so you're right on cue for your eyes.
There you go. And Professor Ford.
Oh,
okay.
not the only
we
one.
Are all set. No, we are all set. So I'm accepting your eye for the SONYMA board, and now for the SONYMA Audit Committee, accepting the previous votes of Mr. Miller, Ms. Miller, and Mr. Olzak. We will ask for a motion and a second for the MBBA and TSFC Audit Committees.
So moved.
And a second, please. Joyce,
Second.
you want a second? Thank you. We will accept the previous votes of Mr. Olzak, Ms. Miller, and Mr. Sanfilippo. And for the governance committees, I will ask for a motion and a second for the HFA Governance Committee.
So moved.
second from Chris. Thank you. We will accept the votes of Mr. Curtis and Mr. Olzak. I will ask for a motion and a second for the Sunny May governance committees.
Move.
Thank you.
Thank you. Edward, then you can second
Second.
on that one. We will accept the votes of Ms. Wisniewski, the prior votes of Ms. Wisniewski, Mr. Capel, and Mr. Olzak. And finally, I will ask for a motion and a second for the MBBA and TSFC governance committees.
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Gonzalez, thank you. We will accept the votes, prior votes of Mr. Olzak and Mr. Gonzalez. We will use these votes as items are voted on throughout today's meetings unless board or committee members decide to vote differently or need to recuse themselves. And Professor Ford will, the votes from everybody, so for the Sunny May board, will assume your vote to open and to use that vote. So thank you. The meetings of the various boards and the audit and governance committees are officially open, and we will turn to the president's report.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I will be brief today. I just actually wanted to sort of re-announce what I emailed you all about earlier this week or late last week, that we have a new board chair, Steve Weiss, who's a partner at the law firm Cannon, Heyman, Weiss, which is based in Buffalo. That's a very active affordable housing law firm for tax credit deals across the state. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here for either of the June HFA or HTFC meetings, but he will be here in July and will come. These appointments come very sort of late in the process, so he was not able to change his schedule. And the way the process works, we also are not able to really fete Ken's, is that how you say that word? Fete? I don't know. Ken's 7-year leadership role, which really was very joyful and supportive, and we will certainly miss his knowledge of New York State, among many other things. So we are sort of chairless today, but we will be in full force in July, and we will spend some time, even though Steve has been involved in the Affordable Housing Agency for a long industry for a long time. We will spend a little time before he comes in just to give him sort of the lay of the land and sort of a preview of the board and our workings, and we'll give him a more formal welcome in July.
When was he last on the board? Several years ago.
He was on the.
It was 2011 to 2017. That's right.
Yeah, so he was previously on the HFA Sunny May
HFA.
board.
Just HFA.
Oh, just HFA. Okay, until 2017, and actually his appointment to the chairmanship is for HFA, HTFC, MBBA, AHC, and TSFC, but it is not for Sunny May. So we don't have a chair actually for Sunny May. We won't have one, at least for the balance of this calendar year. So we will operate with myself as the vice chair running the meetings. We'll still do them jointly, and Steve will still be here. He'll just slightly awkwardly not be voting on Sunny May items as we go through our agenda, but we talked about it and we'll work it out, and hopefully nobody will notice. I think we're hoping to correct it in January. Yeah, to get that fixed.
Is he coming to the city for meetings, or is he doing it from Buffalo?
Yes, he'll come for his intention is to be in New York City for the meetings, not to do them from the Buffalo office. So Andy will still be holding down the fort in Buffalo for us. Thank you. Thank you. Although you never know, maybe he'll. Yeah, maybe he'll. Yeah, you can come here. Maybe he'll go there. Maybe more of us will go there. Well, maybe it'll change the dynamic. Maybe.
This question, so just so I understand, we don't have a chair.
Correct, for Sunny
We
May.
don't have a chair till January. But the actions that we take here will still be official.
Yes, because I can act as vice chair.
Sorry?
We just don't have a seated chair. I'll act as the vice chair in that capacity. I can run the meetings, and we will have quorum, and we will hold votes just as we always did. We'll just do it with 7 members, not 8 of the Sunny May board. The board will only be 7 members.
Yes, that's right.
What's the quorum, Sunny?
On 7, it will be 4, I believe. That's right.
So as long as so
It's a majority.
I've spent a lot of time on this, but obviously as the president, staff member, then, but is it the chair not supposed to be a member of the staff? As it were, I understand you're just acting in the process. I'm not arguing the point, I'm just trying to understand it.
Yes, they just did not appoint a chair, so, and the legislature doesn't come back until January. I mean, I don't actually know what the legislature's going to do, but in theory, they will not be back in January to do appointments. So there is not much we can do about having a chair until the legislature comes back and votes on that.
And we can talk about it.
Was there a reason that the prior chair just didn't stay on until December, or his term is up, or? Again,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing, I'm just.
No, I understand. It was a bit of a complicated thing. I don't have a lot of answers to those questions as to sort of how we arrived at this place. It is just sort of where we are. I was just going to ask Jesse, do you know if there are other boards that have like acted without chairs?
I don't think it's outside of the possibility, and I think obviously the alternative is not meeting, which I don't think that's a positive solution, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it, but I think people of the state of New York probably would not be okay with it.
Yeah, so we can, the bylaws allow us to run with the vice chair.
The vice chair is a position that's recognized in the bylaws to step in when the chair is not, we don't have a chair.
When the chair is,
when we do not have a chair.
I thought you'd say when the chair is not available.
I was starting to say that, but you're right, but I correct.
Different from what we have now. Just like we don't
Understood.
have a chair. My only concern is that somebody somewhere in the state of New York, which has a few litigious people, time to time, may contest anything and everything that we do, just based upon what I'm hearing.
I think the bylaw,
Say a lawyer on TV.
yeah, we looked at the statute, and so the statute allows the vice chair to run the meetings,
Yes,
and we
that's
will
right.
have quorum as long as we have 4 of 7, so we don't have any reason to believe there's like invalidness
Right,
to
that's
our
correct.
actions.
that's correct.
The statute gives us the vice chair role.
It does give it, the bylaws give us.
The bylaws, sorry.
Yeah, the vice chair role.
Again, I didn't know. If the coin comes up heads instead of tails, I guess it'd be fine for January. I was just concerned over that, but I'm not hearing any other options either.
No, it's a legislatively affirmed position, so unless the
Right.
legislature comes back in session, yeah. But we will carry on our business. So with that, should we jump into the audit committee? If anyone else has
Yes.
any more questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're beginning with the audit committee agenda. The first item is the minutes of the audit committee meetings of HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC held on April 11th, 2024, which shall be deemed approved absent corrections from the members and directors.
So,
Well, we're deeming them approved, so I think we
Okay.
don't need to take it. We will move to the audit committee shared information item. There will be no presentation of these items unless requested by the members. And item number 2 is the annual review of independent audit contracts with Ernst & Young. This is for HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. We will now move to an item requiring for SONYMA committee. This is a resolution recommending the approval of internal audit city mortgage servicer bank audit report. And
Haneem
we
is
have
here, I think,
Haneem
Great, come on up, Haneem.
Babe to present this item.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So today I'm asking you to approve the report that we performed for our servicer bank. So one of our biggest servicer banks, which is City Mortgage, and they are managing about 189 million of our portfolio. Mainly, it's two programs. They are managing our portfolio through the third party, which is Senlar. And Senlar is also using technical support of Black Knight Financial Service company. So when we looked at the way how they structure our services, we were a little bit concerned. That's why we picked them for the audit, and we did complete audit of the servicing function. We limited our review to the servicing function only because they're currently not originating a lot of loans. They actually stopped. Yeah, so we concentrate our audit on the servicing function. We picked 12 loan files and we track them from the city mortgage, like how it's technically passed to Senlar and how Senlar capturing all the payments and recording them into the system and how the system is protected. So we looked at the technicalities as well as their compliance with the loan guidelines, servicer guidelines, and our agreement with them. So we found that mainly they are in compliance with our expectations from them. At the same time, we made three main recommendations. I want to mention that when we are looking at the servicer bank, we are not just looking from one side. Yeah, so we are trying to look at the SONYMA's function that also communicate with that bank to make sure that if we can improve something from on our side, we also reflect that in our report. So we found three areas that we think that both City Mortgage and SONYMA's operations need to do some improvement. The first thing was the timeliness of recapture letters. So this is a legal element. So if the loan is paid off, there is a set of communication that should happen between the servicer, us, and the client. So the legal compliance elements are met. The timeliness of that recapture letter is something that both City Mortgage and their third party Senlar need to improve. The second was the loan tracking element. So when the loans are moved from one system to another, each time they are assigned different numbers. So it was a subject of our back and forth with the bank, and according to them, they are able to track. Yeah, but it was strange that when we see that there was different numbers assigned to the same loan, and depending on the year that it was originated, it could have a different set of numbers. Yeah, so there was no like a logic in that set. So we recommended to make it consistent. So it will be easier for everyone who participates in this process to track that loan file. And they mainly agree with us. And the third part was that we as representatives of SONYMA who have an ability to, and this is written in our agreement, to audit servicer banks, yeah. But the line that has that grants that authority to us in a loan, this servicer guide, an agreement is very limited. So each time when we are going to audit some banks are using that limited statement sometimes against us, saying that, oh, you might not have the access to that or something like this. So we suggested to SONYMA's legal team and also operational team to expand that clause in the agreement to add a clarity to what we can review at the servicer bank documentation, which type of their external, internal audits we can look at. And so it will not be a battle each time between us and in a servicer bank that we picked for audit. So we would recommend to update that clause for every servicer bank when it's come for update or maybe through a separate memorandum. So, and SONYMA's management agreed with us on that. So we would not be challenged each time. So it was,
Pardon for interrupting, but
Yeah.
I don't want to forget.
Yeah.
Is it my understanding that in dealing with some of these banks that you're getting this pushback in terms of what we can review or not review, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And do we, as independent institutions, have the ability to take our business someplace else?
Generally,
What are
yes.
the limits on that?
Generally, yes, yeah, but I mean, City Mortgage is one of our biggest partners. Yeah, so and they are absolutely compliant with the rest of our requirements and expectations from them. So it's not that we are unhappy with their performance. We just want to have a monitoring function over their servicing that is clearly defined for us and for them. So it should be mutually agreed on to what degree we can audit them and what type of the documentation they can share with us, because they also have their own concerns. Yeah, like for them, we are alien employees. We are not tied with them with any confidentiality agreement and etc. So they might push for that. So there is a legitimate reason for them to push back, but again, when you have the clause in your agreement that is subject for interpretation, this is making our collaboration with them is more like a legally limited. So this is why we want to expand that language. That, for example, if I'm assigned to come and audit your records, you will know exactly what type of the records I can access. So if I'm asking you something beyond that, this is when you push back. Yeah, but not that when I'm coming and asking for your annual financials, yeah, which should be subject for my review. Yeah, so it's like this type of the basic clarity about what we are entitled to see. Yeah, so.
But I understand the City Mortgage is obviously probably one of the, I assume, one of the largest operators of the type in New York State, but they're not the only ones.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, our goal is not to, let's say, diminish the partnership. At the same time, if the partner is limiting us in ability to monitor and we cannot agree with them, of course, it could be subject for consideration, but it's not that they are absolutely not willing to give us any information. They gave us everything, almost everything we asked them. Yeah, but each time it was like, let us consult with our legal counsel, and they will come back with that limited statement saying that, does it mean you have access to ABC? And in our opinion, it does. In their opinion,
That's what our legal counsel says, right?
yes. Yes, so in our opinion, we were legally correct. In their opinion, they had legitimate concerns about confidentiality, data access, and etc. So there was some back and forth, but we got majority of the things we needed to look at, and I'm confident that we had access to. But it took us time, like extra time for back and forth that was not needed. Yeah, yeah. So and both sides agreed. So I think that if the clause will be updated, we will be in the better place for the future.
I just have a question. I'm looking at what's in the document itself in regard to the first item where it has the city mortgage response.
Mm-hmm.
And some of what they're agreeing to is very general. They say they will further enhance monitoring. Were they more specific in terms of what they would do? And
yes, so we had few meetings with them. We discussed the findings with them, and they were more specific in during that conversations. But at the same time, they were sometimes disagreeing with us, saying, no, it's actually not how you described it, and etc. So while we were doing that back and forth, we mainly agreed to the fact that they need to have a better monitoring system and better like a tracking system. So whatever enhancement they will add to their current loan tracking system would have maybe some link between current loan number and any future loan number that they will assign. So for example, if I am number 54 in a city mortgage system, and in a SONYMA system, I have assigned number 46. Yeah, so when they will put the number 46, it will also show that I'm 54 in city mortgage. So they will see that I am the same person that has that two numbers. So there is a lot of like technical matters that they need to improve. If they will put description of that technical matters to the report, it will be it will be too long. That's why they generalized the idea, and this is what you see.
But the answer was satisfactory, more or less.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, of course, it's up to them how they track their loans and how their third party tracks the loans. But if I am the same Hanem Babayeva that is captured in the city mortgage system, and they want to see my performance before I switch to SONYMA, they need to see that and need to be able to find me. Yeah.
Right. And would that also affect the borrower? The fact that there are two different loan numbers?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. This is the idea, that it shouldn't affect the borrower at all.
What was the original note?
Sorry?
What was the original note?
Original note, the documentation belongs to city mortgage. Yes. Yes.
So if the servicer transfers that mortgage to a new servicer, they don't have the same account number,
Mm-hmm.
then that note is now separate from the account. So now as a borrower, I can go to the servicer and say, produce the original note. If you can't produce the original note, the house belongs to me now. Right?
But I don't think that's what was happening.
Yeah, they were able to produce it, but in order to produce your original note, they need to go back to city mortgage
Right.
and request it from city mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't match the accounts up. They don't know who to.
Well, they could. They just had to go back a step, and so now we're going to make it so they don't have to go back a step. They'll just be
Exactly.
in
Yeah, they need
twice.
to search you in two systems.
Yeah.
But in these days and times,
Yeah.
where there's prestidigitation going on in the financial services because of the electronic applications that are available, just the point that Mr. Freeman was mentioning, that's just one example of how things can go sideways in a minute. I was just concerned that city mortgage, or they're a big dog in town, I understand that, but we're part of the state of New York, and we just collectively, and certainly as this institution, can't afford for an oops going on with city mortgage, right? And none of these big institutions are immune from all kinds of things going sideways. We've just seen that historically, just in the last decade, right? And I'm just concerned that if you're getting pushback from anybody, if you're not getting what you want, why can't we just walk?
Yeah. I mean, if
Or
they
at least have that as an option, that they understand that that's on the table. There's nothing eternal about this relationship.
Yes, absolutely. I think that everyone understands that. At the same time, we appreciate the fact that they are performing quite well in terms of how they handle our borrowers and how they track our portfolio. So their reports were timely. They were never late in providing us the financial data. So it was not that we were unhappy with them. It was just the fact that they can do better. Yeah, they mainly agreed to that, and I think that this is the positive attitude that we are observing. If it would be negative, then my report will look differently. Yeah, but Yeah, and Lauren knows all the challenges I experienced, sometimes like personally. So believe me, if I would see that the relationships are under risk of us not getting what we entitled to, or the servicer not performing according our basic expectations, this you will see that in the report, and I will recommend restructuring relationships. But it was not the case with the city mortgage.
And your third recommendation under recapture, what's the turnaround time to recapture right now?
They were late about months plus.
Months plus.
Yeah. So and sometimes it could be more. In average, it was within months plus. But there is a legal element to that. So we want this recapture letter to be timely.
Expectation on the turnaround time.
Why not?
It should take not more than a week. Yes.
Could I ask the board members to speak up? I can't hear any of the questions.
Oh, sure. We just moved some of the mics a little closer. Sorry about that.
Is this better? Is this better?
A little bit better.
A little bit better.
There you go.
Is this better? Yeah.
And yeah. I have my volume all the way up on this end, so.
Let's move these a little closer. Okay. Oh, you have that one. You guys have that one? Leave the one that's forward. Okay. Yep. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Shall we go to vote?
Okay, so now before the SONYMA Audit Committee is a resolution that was, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Do you have more questions?
Yeah. Before the vote, can it just be noted for the record that some expression of concern from some of the board members with respect to this relationship with City Mortgage has been expressed? And is there a time frame where we can revisit this? It's certainly not next board meeting. I don't put too much on what I'm sure is already a very full plate. But as you can hear, there's some concern that, City Mortgage can't be telling us what to do. Okay, they are the service provider. And if you're not, you're being, I think, very professional in handling this, no doubt. But there should be no pushback from them. That's what I'm saying. Their lawyers say X, Y, and Z. I'm a lawyer. I've worked with lawyers on that. They'll say all kinds of things. But we are the client, the customer, however you want to look at it. And at the end of the day, you have to be satisfied so that we're satisfied. And I'm not hearing full okay is going along, and I don't know if that's enough. So just if for the moment, I don't know when would be a useful time to ask to get an update.
Regularly, we do follow-up reports within a year after completion of the initial. So we are planning to go back to them in, let's say, 6, 7, 8 months to get a full explanation about what they did exactly in improving their tracking system and what is now happening with the recapture letter information exchange. And so we will collect that data and I will report back to you in a form of follow-up. And
would it be reasonable to suggest just like an update in 3 months? Not a full report like you've
Okay.
got now, but maybe in 3 months, just how's it going? Okay?
yeah, we can do this in
Okay.
3 months too.
Thank
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And the minutes would reflect some measure of this discussion for sure. So.
The one thing I think that was interesting is that you pointed out the fact that they were willing to all do, there's obviously new data points that you want to collect for purposes, and that would be rolled out across all the servicers, correct? So the question is, I guess, generally, like the recapture thing is actually important on the tax exemption for the bonds because we have to have it out within a certain number of days for so there's other things. But I think what would be interesting is generally an annual servicers report would be helpful to just understand, have people agreed to all the terms? Are they doing this? Are they checking on the data? These are things that are important, especially I think what we learned during the pandemic is that the servicers are the front line to the customer in many respects in sort of getting through. So I think it's having accountable servicers and good servicers are an important part of the program. So, but I think this is great to be able to identify these types of things because they do pose risks, obviously, to the program.
And we can have Darrell, who runs SONYMA, also
Yeah.
come and do a report out on across the board on all the other servicers and highlight other issues and
That's great.
stuff too. Okay, great.
Okay, if there are no other further comments, before the SONYMA Audit Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. There is no further business for the Audit Committee, so I'd like to ask for motions and seconds to adjourn each of the 4 agencies, members, and directors' Audit Committee meetings.
Thank you, Annie.
Second.
Assuming the first and seconds previously entered, all in favor, please signify by saying aye, and we'll take that as an aye. The motions are carried and the meetings are adjourned. The next Audit Committee meetings are scheduled for September. They are currently on as September 12th, but there may be adjustment to that date to correspond with other.
Yeah, the September board meeting, which is on Thursday, September 12th, is the same day as a housing conference here in New York City that many staff are participating on panels at. So I think we're going to try to move it to the Wednesday or the Tuesday of that week, but we'll confer with you all about which of those dates works better and get back on that.
Can the board come to the conference?
Yeah, probably. It's the New York State Association for Affordable Housing Downstate Conference. They do the downstate and the upstate. Yeah, we can send you all the details on it. Do you want me to play the part of vice chair?
Sure.
We're now going to go to the Governance Committee agenda. Item 1 is the minutes of the Governance Committee meetings of HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC held on April 11th, 2024. Shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. We're now going to move to the Governance Committee shared consent items. Item number 2 is a resolution recommending the approval for the continued retention of services provided by Inspira Financials and formerly Benefit Resource, Inc. for administration services of the agency's Qualified Transportation Expense Benefit Plan, ETRAC, and 2 contracts with Automatic Data Processing, ADP, for payroll processing services, an annual review of the contract with Financial Integrity Resource Management, LLC, for actuarial services.
As consent items, we will move to a vote unless anybody has questions regarding these contracts. And in the absence of, we will now, before the HFA and SONYMA governance committees, is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. Item number 3
Keep on.
is a resolution recommending the approval of information technology services agreements. This is also a consent item, so in the absence of questions, we will move to a vote.
Yeah, we had discussed, I think, back in January, sort of like a roadmap on technology for the agency, and I just wanted to sort of touch base on sort of what we're thinking. I know we sort of have the new application system rolling out and its integration with Salesforce and the SAP stuff, and I don't know, Tom.
Yeah, or Betsy's on also. Maybe
Betsy and Tom.
Hey, James.
Hey.
Yes, we don't have that. I don't have that put together yet. The full sort of outline roadmap. That's, to be honest, it sort of slipped my mind, if I'm being perfectly honest. We can put that together. These extensions are for some of the legacy stuff that.
This has just reminded me on that, so that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
We can also try to do that maybe in maybe at the September board meeting then. Would that be okay? We'll make sure we get that on the agenda.
So now before the HFA and SONYMA governance committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. We're now moving to a consent item for the HFA Governance Committee. This is a resolution recommending the approval of the continued retention contract with CQ Roll. And in the absence of questions, we'll move to the vote. Now before the HFA Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. And we also have a resolution recommending authorization of a managed security services contract. This is also a consent item. We'll move to the vote. Now before the HFA Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. And we will move to an HFA Governance Committee information item. This is the annual review of a contract with AXI for MWBE goal setting software. And finally, we will move to shared committee information item. This is the annual review of the SONYMA, item 7, the annual review of the SONYMA custody services agreement with the Bank of New York Mellon, the HFA SONYMA financial reporting services contract with Bloomberg LLP, the data licensing services contract with Bloomberg, and the financial services contracts for arbitrage rebate calculation services with BLX LLC, Hawkins, Delafield and Wood LLP, and OmniCap. There is no further business for the governance committees. So I'd like to ask for motions and seconds to adjourn each of the 4 agencies' members' governance committee meetings.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Assuming first and second, signified aye. The motions are carried. The meetings are adjourned. And the governance committee similarly is next scheduled to meet in September. And we will confirm the date of that meeting in early September.
And actually, Betsy reminded me that the meeting that the staff are all going to is in Buffalo. It's not in New York City, but I'll send it to you anyway. Okay, we're not going to go to the board meetings and start with the presentation of the items shared by HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. And the first item is the minutes of the HFA SONYMA MIC meeting held on May 15th, 2024, and the MBBA and TSFC meetings held on April 11th, 2024. And they will be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. Okay. Item number 2 is a resolution appointing Will Martin as Senior Vice President and Counsel. So we have had the great fortune of having Lauren McGill be our acting General Counsel since our last General Counsel departed. But we did a search and we hired a new General Counsel who is starting on June 24th. So he will be at the July meeting as well, but we're going to appoint him today so that when he gets here, he is officially in the role. And the person that we've hired, his name is Will Martin, and he comes most recently from the New York State Green Bank, where he was the director of legal and regulatory affairs and oversaw the state's sort of Green Bank Energy Investment Fund. And prior to that, he worked for about 10 years at the City of New York's housing agency, HPD. He also worked at the City of New York's housing finance bond issuer, HDC, where he was Deputy General Counsel for HPD. Oversaw transactions very similar to the transactions that we do here in terms of 9% tax credits and 4% bond deals. He has a lot of leadership in managing teams. We have a good-sized legal team here that has a very broad and deep mission and mandate, and we think he is well poised to come in and be able to oversee our regulatory team, our policy team, our transactional team, and we're excited for him to start. So I recommend his appointment without reservation. He will present himself at the July board meeting when he arrives, but we ask for your vote to approve him in the role here. and also to thank Lauren for the very thankless and countless hours that she has spent both prior to this stint as acting general counsel doing the role and then now doing it again, always really graciously and without asking and without getting much spotlight for doing such. So thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. But I'm also pleased to move the resolution. Now before all four boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection herewith. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions
Aye.
are carried and the resolution adopted.
I think I'm going to do item number 3
Yes,
also. So
yes.
item number 3 is a resolution for, let me just pull up my notes so I can get it all correct. For compensation adjustments for the senior officers of the authorities for the state fiscal year 2025. Per the policies that were adopted by the governance committee, the salaries fall within a certain range, and you all approve those ranges, and all of the salaries have to fall within those, and they all do. They all comply with that policy. Board action is actually only required for senior officers and the president CEO. Adjustments for other MC staff at the agency are made at the same time, but they are reported on in the December meeting because they don't require board action, but we report on them at a later time. All the increases that are being proposed here are in compliance with the DOB bulletin. So DOB issues the bulletin and tells us what to do, and then we do it. That came out last month, and we've reviewed everything that's in here has been reviewed by our DOB colleagues. All of the senior vice presidents are receiving a 3% adjustment. But they have been excluded from the performance advance calculation. In compliance with Executive Law 169, I'm also excluded from receiving those. You'll see them in the chart. And we ask that you approve these increases for the staff.
3% seems very low given inflation.
Oh, I don't know, Jesse. Joyce says 3% seems low given inflation.
Well, I'll jump in as someone who's also getting a 3% in my other role. I agree with her, but I don't know that really matters. Again, these are consistent with sort of MC staffers throughout the state, and we've reviewed it and thank the authorities for their HCR for their work on this and fully support this. So thank you.
Well, their services are appreciated, and their low salaries.
Thank you. All right, let's take it to a vote.
Okay, now before all four boards for approval is a resolution that was transmitted in connection herewith. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. We're now moving to shared information items that are before all of the boards. These are items 4 through 6. There's no presentation on these unless a request. So item number 4 is a review of the quarterly investment report as of April 30th. This is for HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. Item number 5 is the current agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period. Again, for HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. And item 6 is the review of the agency's quarterly procurement report for the period ending April 30, 2024. Again, HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC.
I'll do it. Okay, if
Sure.
there being no further business for MBBA and TSFC, Lauren will now ask for motions and seconds to adjourn MBBA and TSFC meetings.
So assuming the
moved.
first and
Thank
you.
Andy.
I've been falling asleep. I've been falling asleep here listening to all of you, so I thought I'd say something.
So all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
Excuse me?
The-
Yeah, I can't raise my right hand right
Okay, I'm sorry.
now. So, left hand, right? Did we just skip through items 4, 5, and I
There's
guess-
just informational items.
Those are
They don't get
information items, yes. So
Voted on.
they do not come before for a vote.
Okay. Okay.
Bye, bye, everybody.
Bye, Andy. Thank you. We'll see you in September.
And
Okay.
the motions, the meetings are adjourned for MBBA and TSFC. We are going to move to item number 7. And this is a consent item that is just before HFA and SONYMA. This is a resolution recommending the approval of a cyber insurance policy and increase to the budget connection therewith. And this actually will also be coming to the board.
This is getting a presentation by Lisa?
This would actually be by Tom, I think, if we were, but I think it comes to the board.
Are you doing cyber insurance? Oh, great. There we go.
Good morning. This is a request for just a 1-month extension of our current cyber security or cyber insurance policy while our current insurance broker solicits bids for a new policy. So it's just a 1-month extension of the current policy at a cost of $40,000.
When does it
Annual premium?
$400.
When does it expire?
June 24.
June 24?
Yes, we intend to go back to the July 4 meeting with the 1-year policy.
So it expires in like 2 weeks?
Yes, that's why we're asking for the 1 month.
So the extension.
While the broker is getting quotes.
And then we'll bring a new policy back at the July meeting that will be for the subsequent year.
We expecting bad news?
I don't think so.
No? Oh, good. Yeah.
It's been, I think the reason for the extension is just because it's been kind of a prolonged application and process to find a new policy.
Yeah, that's why I was asking for the expiration date, because we're 2 weeks in, 2 weeks away, and we're going to get a 1-month extension. So when did he actually send out for the bids?
The application's been in process since, I believe, April. But again, it's just been an extended time period to get it done.
There was a lot of involved information on the application, and it was going from different units, how to sign off on it. And so now we're going for, it's in the broker's hands to get quotes.
When was the broker initially contacted?
I'd have to contact, that was done by our facilities department. I don't have that information available.
Okay. Is the cyber insurance under the 80-20 rule?
What's the 80-20 rule?
80-20 is you have to have 80% of the assets in-house in retention, because we're going to pay them. The policy itself is like $358,000 on like a $5 million policy. Should anything happen, we're eligible to use up to $5 million of that policy. Are they going to be able to meet that $5 million when we're only giving them $358,000? So the 80-20 rule falls into play, that they have to have at least 80% of those assets so that they don't default.
I can look into that. I don't know the answer to that. I assume the insurance companies that will submit bids for this comply with the regulations that they're subject to, but we can confirm it.
Isn't the capacity part of your due diligence process? I mean, it's been looked at, I assume.
Yeah, it's really, the majority of it is facilitated by our insurance broker, who does the due diligence, most of the due diligence for us.
You could ask him to just collect the ratios on each of the folks who are responding.
Right, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah, and we can report back on that when we bring it to the board in July. Great. Any other questions? Okay.
So now before the HFA and SONYMA for approval is a resolution that was transmitted in connection herewith. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we're going to go to the items requiring SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee action. Item number 8 is a resolution of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $3,450,000 enterprise permanent first mortgage loan for 706 Union Avenue in the Bronx. And Mike is going to present.
So we have not done business with Enterprise in quite some time, so it's good to see them back. The project comprises the mod rehab of 29 single-room occupancy units. All the units are affordable up to 50% of the AMI, and they're all subject to a project-based Section 8 contract. It's a very heavily subsidized project. There's $2 million in HPD subordinate debt, $2.8 million in Homeless Housing Assistance Corporation sub-debt. There's a full New York City 420C real estate tax abatement. The insured loan amount is $119,000 per unit, which equals 42% of the project's total development cost of $284,000 per unit.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Mike?
Need more SROs.
Yeah.
Again, it's great to be preserving this type of
You
housing.
mentioned that we had not heard from in a while. Is there some reason for that aside from, I guess, the obvious? That,
I don't think they were doing very much.
okay. And do we know if there's, the reason I'm asking is, it seemed, if that's the business that you're in, then you don't kind of stay in the business. If there's some pause, is there a reason for that change in management? They just working on other projects, or?
We didn't do anything to offend them, so I don't know why they haven't, done business with us.
I wasn't suggesting that, of course, but I'm just saying, if we've been doing, this is not just the second item we've done with them, right? No. And so did they just, were they adding some hiatus of some sort, or?
I think that although Sadie can probably weigh in better, I think this is sort of a small business for them, right? But maybe you want to comment better.
Yeah, I would just say Enterprise does many, many things. Lending like this is not a big part of what they do. But they have been getting more active lately, particularly with new opportunities coming forward. They also have new leadership in Sean Donovan, who just joined a little less than a year ago.
Is it Sean Donovan?
Yeah,
is that right?
He runs Enterprise now, so.
That's Sean Donovan.
The same Sean Donovan.
The same Sean Donovan that was HUD Secretary, yes. So they could be.
Thank you.
Now before the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 9 is a resolution of the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $3,013,556 LISC, permanent first mortgage loan for the FAC cluster HDFC, which is 12 scattered site buildings in Kings County. Mike?
This is an interesting project because it comprises the mod and in some cases substantial rehab of 12 buildings. 6 of the buildings already have CPC loans sold to the New York City Employees Retirement System. And FAC wants to preserve those loans. So we and NICERS have agreed to insure co-first. $3 million in new debt, and there's about $2.6 million in existing debt on 6 of the 12 buildings. All 12 buildings will be put into a single entity controlled by FAC. There is $59.6 million in subordinate HPD debt behind the $3 million or the $5.6 million that we will be insuring. The insured loan amount is $29,500 per unit, which equals 5% of the project's total development cost of $635,000 per unit, which includes the $59 million in HPD debt.
Hey, Mike, just a question of ignorance. Co-first mortgage, what happens in the event of a foreclosure? That you split the proceeds or 50-50? How does that work? Nobody has priority there.
No.
Yeah. No. Do you share the proceeds?
Yes,
It's a hard deal.
yes.
Great. Other questions?
Now before the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we're going to go to items requiring Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee and Sunny Mae Board action. And so item number 10 is a resolution of the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee and of the Sunny Mae Board approving an increase of $401,000 on a CPC permanent first mortgage loan approved in October 2018 for 100% mortgage insurance on a $7 million $140,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for the 683 Thwaites, it's hard to say that 3 times fast, 683 Thwaites Place project in the Bronx. Mike?
The reason that this is coming back is that as originally approved, it was less than 7 million. So it didn't require board approval. With the increased debt, it's now over 7 million, requires board approval. All of the units are affordable up to 80% of the AMI. The insured loan amount is 204,000 per unit, which equals 40% of the total development cost of 500,000 per unit.
Let's see, we're referring to soft costs basically, because soft costs have increased by 1.1 million.
Yes.
Which gets us over that.
Yes, a lot of it's construction interest.
Is there anything we need to know about those soft costs aside from what we obviously can read in black and white here, as opposed to lawyers raise their fees, those kinds of things, their hourly rates or something? That's not what we're doing with it. Okay.
No.
All right, as long as you're satisfied with it. As I said, obviously there's room in soft costs for people to
Yes.
Get more soft costs, right? So, all right, but if you're comfortable with it, that's
I
fine.
am.
Okay. All right.
Now before the Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee and the Sunny Mae Board, a resolutions that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee and the Board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution's adopted.
Great. The next item on the agenda requires Sunny Mae member action. Item number 11 is a resolution of the Sunny Mae Board approving the transfer of $101,951,000 from the MIFS project insurance account to HTFC and HHAC in 2 respective amounts. So $48,370,000 to HTFC and $53,581,000 to HHAC. Mike?
So pursuant to the budget that was passed a few weeks ago, we have to transfer 102 million from the corpus of the project insurance account. Unlike last year when there were substantial excess balance because of the reduced mortgage recording surtax, there's no excess balance this year. So the whole 102 million is coming out of the corpus of the project insurance account. We have 2.4 billion in reserves in the account. So the 102 million represents about 4% of our total reserves. And we earn about 100 million in interest on the 2.4 billion in reserves and about 23 million in premium. So we will replace the 102 million over the course of this fiscal year. Our risk to capital ratio, as computed by Moody's, which includes policies in force and commitments. So it's a very conservative ratio because commitments aren't really risk in force. Our ratio is 2.64, which is below the 3.0 that Moody's many years ago indicated they did not want us to exceed. If we release the whole 102 million before we earn interest and premium, it will just drive the ratio up from 2.64 to 2.75. And we have written confirmation from Moody's that the release of the 102 million will not in and of itself have a deleterious effect on the AA1 rating of the project account.
Great, thanks. Any questions? Yeah? No?
No. Now before the SONYMA board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the SONYMA board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Item number 12 is a resolution approving the SONYMA report of examination by the New York State Department of Financial Services for the fiscal year ending October 31, 2022.
And just to note, these items, this material was transmitted separately to just the SONYMA directors. It is privileged at the direction of DFS, so it's not. And Hanim is here to present.
Happier every time. She's like, it's almost over.
No. Yeah, so as you know, this is an annual exercise that is happening every year to SONYMA's operations. So the Department of Financial Services, they perform the annual examination starting from summer of each year. They usually finalize it by December of each year. They report it at the beginning of next year, and around the time when they send us the closing information, they start the new cycle. So it's like a non-ending, like a cycle of examination that is happening every year. It's been my third examination that I'm observing. So I can summarize it with the ratings that has not been changed during last 3 years. So their scoring system is consists of five rating systems. So it's 1 is strong, 2 is satisfactory, 3 is fair, 4 is marginal, and 5 is unsatisfactory. So we were rated as 2 satisfactory for the last 3 years for almost every aspect that they looked at, which consists of financial condition and liability, internal controls and audit, legal and regulatory compliance, management, and system and technology. So the only 3 which is fair we got is for system and technology, which was consistent throughout the 3 years that I observed it. So, but the general score for the company is 2, which is satisfactory. They send us a list of the recommendations that we agree to some degree, because not all of them were productive. But it's not something that they are coming up with. It's not a new recommendations that they came up for this year. It's like repetition of the old recommendations that we partially implemented to the degree possible, and they are now requesting, like they are like, no, this is what we asked to do. Like they are repeating it from year to year, and the fact that we explain the reason that we cannot implement the way how they want it is not a reason to remove them from the. Probably it's their, it's the system how they do their reports. So we have the list of recommendations, which I think that company is mostly in compliance with. So if they will do the follow-up this year, we have already responses for them for each of the recommendations. At the same time, if you have any questions regarding their recommendation and our management response, I'm ready to cover.
Thank you.
What are they asking for differently in systems and technology?
Mainly, their main concern during last 3 years was the fact that we didn't do the disaster recovery test, which was completed like last week. Yeah.
Yeah, the lack of a DR test has been the reason for the 3 rating for systems and technology. The reason we weren't able to complete one all that time was really a combination of the prolonged BAM project, which I'm sure you all remember, and then the post-go live support activities of that after we went live As Haneem just said, we successfully completed the DR tests for this environment earlier this year. So believe that rating will go back up to 2 like everything else.
Yeah, and another concern, for example, that we both, Tom and I, disagree with. So they are saying that the risk assessment that internal auditors perform about the IT function and the risk assessment that IT people perform as a self-assessment of their risks should match. Like it can never match. Like the way how Tom assess his functions and how his experts assess his functions are usually very specified. For example, majority of their concerns are about cybersecurity. That each time when I'm asking any IT specialist, what is your biggest risk? What doesn't let you sleep at night? They're like, someone hacking us. Like this is their, yeah. And I'm like, what about you not having enough people in your department doing the job? They're like, no, it's not a big deal. But someone hacking us, this is a big deal. So it's like the way how I looked at their function and what it can be a headache for them, and from a user perspective, because when we do a risk assessment, we'll look at from the user perspective, we'll look at from a budget perspective, from a HR perspective. They're usually very specified in their technological elements. So the fact that Department of Financial Services expects these two assessments to match is unrealistic, and plus it violates the internal audit standards that require due professional care. So I cannot take Tom's department's assessment and fully rely on the way how they see themselves. Yeah, so it's a self-assessment. So that's why we explain why this cannot be matched. But at the same time, we looked at their self-assessment, considered this, and mutually, Tom's team also receives the assessment that we perform, and they looked at the way how internal auditors together with the users and management look at their risks, so they might consider it, but matching these two assessments is unrealistic. So this is what we are trying to, like during last 3 years, to explain to Department of Financial Services, but apparently they cannot remove unresolved items from their report, so they are just repeating them.
Again, I would not even begin to suggest any expertise when we're talking about these things, except that, you know, the whole notion of hacking is something that just as a layperson, we read about this in the paper all the time. And I would think that any governmental entity is a big fat target just because they're governmental entities and there's an assumption that perhaps some of the guardrails aren't as stringent as perhaps you might have with city mortgage, for example. And so how do we reconcile this concern? Because I don't think we could just say, well, okay, we're doing the best we can, but we're really going to just, you know, focus on the areas that internally we see as important. Again, as a layperson, but as a member of this board, certainly, it sounds like it's something that we should have as a you know, kind of flashing red light concern. Am I just overreacting, or perhaps you can help us understand a little bit better how that thought process is working, please?
Yeah, so your concern is absolutely right, and it's currently the case. So cybersecurity is the biggest risk for any agency, any organization, any financial institution.
Or any of us.
Any of us, yes. So, apparently, given the new technologies, new ways how people learn to hack the systems, the risk is not going down in nearest future. Yeah, so it's something.
I agree with that, but it's, you know, to be honest, it's the reason why 2 of the 3 technology-related issues in front of the board today were security-related, right? One about insurance, and the other about a managed services, a security provider, managed service security provider, who, you know, so we work with experts who pay attention to this stuff every day. To make sure that we are as safe or protected as feasible.
But not as satisfactory to the Department of Financial Services.
Oh, their concern is not about
They
security. Yeah.
they didn't raise any security concerns.
I thought it was cybersecurity. Perhaps I misheard then. I thought it was.
No, no, no.
disaster
I
recovery
just
task.
gave you the example about how two different assessments can flag different risks as a priority. Yeah. So yeah, they want our two assessments to match. That's why I'm saying that it's not matching because.
But it's not on the cybersecurity area. That's not the.
No, their concern it was about the testing of the disaster recovery plan, which was performed. So for this year, we are in a better place to explain that it was done. If there was any hiccups, Tom can give them an overview. Other than that, the Department of Financial Services, they did not report any security concerns. Yeah.
This is why I tell my students to ask questions because I do have. Thank you, thank you.
And then too, with your expectations, you could have an expectation. Tom could try and implement it. 6 months it takes to implement. That technology is already outdated in the 6 months that you've already put it in place.
Yes. Yes. So it's absolutely like an ongoing process, and the risk of cybersecurity is not possible to mitigate completely, but to the degree possible, we just need to reduce it to the degree possible. And whatever was approved today, including the insurance policy, I think that it's a mitigating tools.
Great. So are we ready to move the motion? Now before the SONYMA board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the SONYMA board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, is the MIF activity report just information?
The MIF activity report is just an information item. Okay. Yep.
Can I comment on it?
Sure.
Yeah,
I think I saw Mike just skirt out,
I guess Mike left, but there's a message in this report in terms of the collections under the mortgage tax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It seems the situation seems to have stabilized itself. I don't know, close to half of what we're accustomed to in prior years. I'd be interested for the next meeting in seeing an abstract that shows this maybe going back 5 to 7 years, so we can really see a pattern. Because this is our main source of revenue, and if it's going to remain at this level, it's worthy of close examination.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go do a 5-year run.
Yeah, and the other thing too is obviously that impacts availability of insurance. And
Right.
So the question is ultimately like whether the risk share work, like getting SONYMA to go back to back with other folks, looking at ways to do the FHA risk share programs and other things can extend the capacity of what the agency has and can utilize.
Yeah, we haven't been limited, as you've sort of seen
Yeah.
the board, with the collections even being down. It hasn't limited the ability to provide new insurance. And we are actively looking at diversifying the insurance and with the new debt issuance person in place, they are focused on looking at that for the next year too.
I would also just add that business is typically down when the MIC insurance is down anyway, so.
They trend together.
Yeah, they trend together, and so the need for more capacity is a concern, but it also tracks with a decline in activity, which would require insurance, so.
Yeah, that's a fair
Good
point.
news, bad news, sort of.
That's a fair
I
point.
can say is interest rates.
Cyclical.
That's what his response. Okay.
And we have one more item that is, we were going, in response to the board's request, where you're going to do it isn't here, right? We're going to do item 14 is just a discussion on the Casa Pasiva project, which you all had raised a couple months ago, and then again last month. And so Alexa is here to discuss.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I'm Alexa Sewell. I'm a relatively new senior vice president for multifamily. And you all know Russell. Yes. So this is to follow up about, as the commissioner said, a project that we presented to you at the April board meeting, Casa Pasiva. At that meeting, the board approved additional subsidy for the project in order to close gaps that had prevented the project from being able to support its permanent mortgage. Bless you. As a reminder, Casa Pasiva is a full tenant in place passive house retrofit of 146 units across 8 buildings. A confluence of issues had,
I'm sorry,
Yes.
where is it located? As we're refreshing, where is it located, please?
it's in Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Scattered sites.
Okay, it's coming back.
Scattered
Yeah, okay.
sites,
Got
right?
it.
This was the first passive house retrofit of an affordable housing project. So it was very exciting, and it fell on hard times during COVID. A confluence of issues had led to problems at the site, cost overruns, some issues with the contractor. The issue that you all had asked us to come back to talk to you a little bit more about was the issue of rental arrears at the property. And you had wanted to understand a little bit better how Riseborough, the project sponsor, is supporting the tenants at the buildings. So first and foremost, to date, no tenants have been evicted from the buildings. Riseborough has enlisted the help of a social service agency called Help USA that has a program that they've developed called Home for Good. They have a number of social service case managers who are working to support the existing Riseborough property management staff. They're offering one-on-one intensive case management with the residents in order to resolve their rental arrears and promote longer-term housing stability. So having housing navigators are meeting with residents. Each resident profile is being worked up and reviewed. They are being offered various options, including one-shot deals, which are the city's program to provide back rent for residents who may be quite behind in their rent. They're offering payment plans and arrears forgiveness as well. And in addition, if tenants want, they're being offered fuller financial planning and financial plans, budgeting, and that sort of thing. So the initiative began a couple of weeks ago. They have had some contact with tenants and are hopeful that they'll be able to get a lot of uptick. This is not a mandatory program, but they're hopeful that folks will take advantage of the services being offered. Are there any questions?
I would say that's above and beyond.
Should we expect, I'm sorry, should we expect a further report on this, or is this, you're satisfied that it's under control now, or perhaps can we get a check back in September? Just as briefly as you've done now.
Sure. Happy to report back. I will say that staff is very much in contact with Riseborough to make sure that the building is stabilized. So we are aware of what's going on there, but happy to report back to you in September on how things are. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Riseborough.
Yeah, yes, they're really good.
Great, I think.
So we are now.
That's
Yes,
rough,
yeah. There's no further business
Yes,
for the,
Yes,
okay,
yes. I was waiting for the new business part.
okay. That is the end of our agenda.
Okay, yeah.
So,
That's why I was waiting. Yeah.
okay, there you go.
You know, several months ago, I know I had mentioned, as well as I know Mr. Freeman has mentioned, other members of the board as well, you know, a very real concern with respect to the entire notion of minority engagement and involvement, particularly Black and Latino, whether it's in business or service providers or with respect to the various services that are offered. And know that I guess it's like February of last year, when I know Ms. Torres had come on board and there's work being done. But I know we were kind of like building up to a presentation by Empire State, and they came through, I guess, last September. And then it's kind of like, you know, I certainly have not heard anything further with respect to addressing the overall institutional concern that this institution can and should do more in this area, as well as the whole state, as far as I'm concerned, the whole state apparatus. But it's kind of like, okay, we expressed ourselves, and it was acknowledged, and then, as I said again, I've heard nothing further. I don't think we need weekly reports, but here we are in June. And again, the last real conversation we had on this, to my knowledge, is last September. That's a whole school year for me in my job. And what I would like to ask going forward, because I can't do much today, I understand that, is that just as a part of the various reports that we have, is Ms. Torres still with the organization?
Yes, and
Okay.
we bring to the board annually but I'm forgetting which month it is, and she will come and present the
And what
goal
I'm asking
setting.
is for more than annual report.
Yeah, no, that's right. I was just gonna say, she'll do when she comes, she'll do the retro for the year and then
I believe it's January, but.
in January?
I think with.
Oh, so that may be
a
the
number
last
of
time you
other-
saw it may have been
Yeah,
January then.
but
Okay.
we'd have to.
And as I said, because I know my principal that got me here in the first place has put that as a priority. And so if I'm not doing my job, I guess I won't be doing this job much longer, and which would be fair. And so I think that it's important, not just that there's just on the items, the calendar of things that are done. Yes, we're going to do another report. Really want to see progress. Really want to see change, institutional change. Really want to see something different, because even given the lofty salary that I'm paid to be here, I would just like to think that, at whatever point that my service here concludes, that there's something has changed. And if I were to not come anymore, which might please some people somewhere, but if I were not to come anymore, I don't feel that I've accomplished that task at all. And, as I said, I've tried to be a constructive and useful member of the board with respect to all the other matters that are going on. And I'm not a one-trick pony at all, but I'm not seeing enough here, just to be very frank.
I was just going to suggest, since we come in January, we could ask Carrie if she would come in July, because that would be a sort of a 6-month check-in and present on how she's doing. She has several initiatives that she's running and goals, and there are, she has a sort of set of priorities that she's working on. So we can ask her to come in the July meeting as a sort of a 6-month mark from what you saw in January and report on where she is on her
I put that
priorities.
as a good start. I would like to see it monthly. I mean, it is that important. I think it's that important. And if we're not monitoring it and working on it that way, then it really isn't that important.
Let me talk to her about her, it's maybe a lot for her to come to the board every month to report on her sort of strategy, but why don't we start in July and she can talk about where she is in her priorities for the division, and then we could see if there's a cadence maybe between July and January, where she could come sort of like quarterly and update on a set of
you heard me say
priorities.
Monthly, right?
Yeah, I think that might be a lot for her as a
Why?
staff member.
Because this is a very important item.
Absolutely. I think her initiative, let's have her come in July and then we'll talk about it. I think that she has she's doing amazing work, and she has a lot of priorities.
If it's amazing work and we don't know about it, how amazing can it be? I will grant that it's amazing.
You don't know about it. I think the whole staff here does a lot of amazing work that we're not able to talk about in minute detail. But let's, for sure, I totally hear you on it. And let's have her come in July and present, and then let's talk about what's the right cadence for her to report on. She has a broad set of things that she's working on. And
if board members express, I think we try to articulate in as useful a fashion as possible how important this entire issue is.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying amazing work is being done and it's not being conveyed to the board as a whole. I'm not understanding the disconnect.
Again, let's have her come in July and do an overview, and then let's go from there and see what the right and what sort of the right level of feedback is, or the right or if you don't feel that she's making enough progress on the things that are important to you, we can talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can I suggest that some information be forwarded ahead of time, so we're not trying to digest and speak at the same time? It's not a good thing. I was taught as a kid to try to speak with food in your mouth, right? So let us have some information in advance so that we can intelligently and usefully participate in a dialogue with Ms. Torres and her staff, whoever else.
So we would normally send all the board meetings out, materials out a week in advance. So is that okay?
No.
Or are you asking for, okay.
Yeah.
So when would you?
Well, I don't know, sooner than that.
Okay.
Okay, because obviously, as I said, we all do work, and as I said, you ought to see the guy I had to fight with. So, but quite seriously, if it can be done more than a week in advance, yes, because everybody's got stuff to do, and I don't want to be flipping through the papers just as we're coming here.
Great. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And then part of it too, in the report itself, is talking about MBE, MWBE, resources being utilized at 70%, but that's only $42,000 spread over 3 companies. So it's like, that's nothing. So that's the reason that we really want to see where that progress is actually being made. And then I know she's going out to meetings, she's going to Chamber of Commerce's and other places. Every year is a stretch. So initially we wanted it earlier so that this way we can make the adjustments that we need to make sure she had the resources and everything to be able to do the things that we had an expectation of having done.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Okay. Then I think we're ready to close these meetings. So assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA SONYMA, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the HFA and SONYMA board meetings are adjourned. Our next, our July board meeting was on the schedule for July 11th. We are looking to push that further into July to July 24th. And we will follow up on that, but hope that date will be available for a quorum.
Should I change the date now?
Yes, it won't be July 11th. It'll be
Should I change
July
it to the
24th
I
unless,
should change it to the 24th now.
that would be great.
Just to,
We will follow up with
I understand
confirmation,
that,
but, yeah.
the sooner I put it here.
I just have a quick question.
Less happy.
So are we going to do an August meeting as well?
No, so we're going to cancel the August
Okay.
meeting and move the July meeting a little later so we can take August and July and do them in one. And then we'll go from July to September. Great. Thank you, Sadie. Thank you, Chris, for coming down.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Said the 24th, right? 24th of July.
24th.
Thank you.
I've tried.
Can't say it.
Yeah, I'll get it off in July.
What is?
You know where it is, right?
Yeah,
I'll put it the Capitol, first floor.
So.
Andre?
Yeah, sure. Everyone coming up. We can just.
Oh, no, I don't really know how to do it. Wednesday's gone. I talked about whether he would maybe come like today, but I think he's, he was busy, so I think he's.
How you doing? As I said, I'm glad I don't have to get in the fight right now. Now I know how Sonny listened, so when he hurt his arm in that first fight, Ali didn't catch his leg, only had one arm to fight with. That's tough.
Very tough.
It's really tough.
Very
My
tough.
girlfriend slapped the shit out of him.
Took us by surprise.
Yeah, it's funny, we were walking yesterday,
Hasn't there been like 500
she's like 5'1", like, but
Little
I would
thing.
strongly advise you don't want to mess with her. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I was I've been living in Harlem for 50 years. I see people I don't know.
I don't know what.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I know.
What happened to you?
I was like,
Don't tell them that.
Got equipment to use some.
She's
Check with Steve. I think we were trying to, we want to make
That's
sure.
the best I got. So, we have to, we keep talking about doing it. We just have to do the Zoom with, senators and, cousins. So I think we try to do it jointly. We're probably going to be just, we'll be talking about this Labor Day. At the West India Day Parade. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm amenable. My schedule is a lot more fluid through the summer because I'm only teaching like 2 courses at MCNY, one day a week for each, and